Hey everybody, it's Kneecap here, and welcome to This Week in WoW for the week of June 6th. Still no Mythic Plus rotation in order yet, but we can talk a little bit about last week's affixes. Last week we saw the introduction of Afflicted. This is the new affix where it's very similar to the other affix. One or two ads can spawn, and in this case you need to dispel them, like a disease dispel, curse dispel. You need to cast a dispel on them or heal them to full health, and they don't have a ton of health, so it is not that bad actually to heal them up. In one way, a healer can take care of this by clicking Dispel and then healing the other one up. It's not that bad to do unless, of course, you're in the middle of a really tenuous pull. And on the other hand, hybrid classes can very easily take care of these as well. Where, as a Ret Paladin, for example, I press my Cleanse Toxin and then I can also just wog. As long as you are expecting the healing hands or whatever, you can just easily wog it up to 100% with one word of glory. So I assume that other hybrid classes can take care of the healing as well if they absolutely need to. I would do this if we were in a poll that was a little bit sketchy and I didn't want the healer to have to even waste a global, like the tank maybe health wasn't looking very good or something. I would just go ahead and take care of it myself, and I found that to be pretty interesting. It's clear now after playing both these affixes, both the CC one and now the Incorporeal, and then now this Afflicted one with the Dispels. It's clear to see that Blizzard is trying to place an emphasis on hybrid roles, on doing things other than damage. And I believe it's because of their core values of like not having Ret Paladins, Windwalker Monks, Feral Druids, Enhancement Shamans, hybrid classes like that, specifically melee usually, get dumpstered on. But sometimes this too, Ellie and Boom can sometimes get the bad end of the stick as well. Instead of having them be high damage, they're like, well, look, they have all this utility, so we'll just force you to use the utility. I don't necessarily think that's a good thing. I think in the short term it is because it gets more people invited, more different classes invited than maybe normal, and then you can kind of see that, hey, these classes are actually not that bad at damage. It's just kind of like I think what they're trying to do is kind of expose that the idea of the meta is really only for the top players, and that you can have something that's supposedly bad DPS do more damage than the meta pick because the meta player isn't as good or something like that, right? I think that's this is just me, tinfoil hatting really, but just kind of thinking that they are trying to kind of break the meta in some ways with this. I don't know if it'll work because it is a little bit forced, but I do. That is my feeling after playing both these affixes. I don't mind them. Once again, I'm one of the classes that benefits from this. I play Ret Paladin. I benefit from this. I can repent and fear the Incorporeal, and I can dispel and heal with one button the Afflicted. So I'm a class that very much benefits for this. I'm very powerful for these affixes, but at the same time, it does feel a little bit forced in some ways. And honestly, I'd rather just do more damage and have the affixes have to do with doing more damage. But that's just me. There are other people that like play styles of utility and stuff. And a lot of those people are going to be playing like augmentation evokers, right, when they come out. So let's move on to talk about what's going on in-game this week. This week, we do have the Darkmoon Fair for the whole week. Of course, you want to go there for... Obviously, there's a lot of cool things to do there as well. But you want to go there if you're a profession person to get your knowledge points. It's basically free knowledge points for doing like a 2-minute quest, right, in the Darkmoon Fair. So you can head there and get those. Obviously, there's a lot of other cool stuff to do there. I always recommend going and doing it. If you're like right now, there's other like a lot of people playing Diablo 4. But if you're ever in a boring time where you don't have a cool game to play, and WoW is kind of in a lull between patches, it actually is fun if you haven't done it yet to like try to get the achievements in the Darkmoon Fair. It's something that I did at one point when I was playing the game very casually, but pretty bored. I went through and did a bunch of the achievements there, and it was actually a really good time. We also have the 1,000 boat race, boat bash, and that's 1,000 needles. It's like a boat racing thing. It's actually not that bad, but this is one that as I say about many of these holidays, This is one that could probably be expanded on a little bit and made even cooler. I would actually love to see with the introduction of dragon riding races. So something that cool they could do is actually have like boat races, and they could, I mean, in any way that they want to put it in, you can make it a scenario or whatever, but like you actually race against other players or something. I don't know. I think that something like that would be pretty cool, and you could have a whole holiday about it. You could get like a boat mount or something that goes fast in the water and like maybe it doesn't even work on land, but it's just like really fast in the water. I don't know. Something like that would be cool, I think. And I always want them to expand the holidays because I think it brings flavor to the world of the game. And I'm a big proponent on this channel of the world of Warcraft, right? So I think that would really enhance the world, and a lot of these holidays being expanded on would really enhance the world. As far as myself personally, raid, we were a little stuck on Forgotten Experiments. We come in after a little bit of homework, one shot it literally, and then we head on to Rorschach. We had very good progression on Rorschach, honestly, hitting the Enrage multiple times. So basically learning the entire fight. Hopefully that would go down this week. It probably should at least, and then we can move on to Zaskarn. And yeah, I'm still enjoying the raid. I keep wanting to get back in there. This is honestly the first raid. So I'm not saying this is the best raid by any means, but this is the first raid in a while where like I'm just anxious to get back in there. Like I think I could have handled raiding like 3 or 4 nights a week for this tier, just because of like how much I want to get back in there and do these bosses. One because they feel very killable, right? They don't feel like this giant wall. It doesn't feel like, oh man, we're never gonna kill this because a handful of raiders aren't gonna figure it out. And I think that goes a long way too. Not that the raid's easy. We're seeing that it's not necessarily easy. People are still getting stuck. There's still not a ton of kills on stuff, and maybe even you could even say maybe the raid is still too hard a little bit, which is a completely galaxy brain take because everyone was saying how easy it is. But if you just look at the numbers, it actually isn't that easy compared to other raids after the top end guilds get it done with. So. But the bosses, while I might not call them easy, they feel very completable and they feel very doable, and I like that. I do like that aspect. Like I said, it's made me want to get into the raid more. I've been still doing a lot of Mythic Plus. I think I'll probably do a vault opening this week. We'll see in a few hours after this video is posted if I do or not. I don't know if I'm going to get a full eight Mythic Pluses in or not. Because I had a couple groups fail. Some really weird pugs this week. I think maybe with the Diablo 4 stuff going on, maybe there's a little bit of lacking of the dearth of quality of players, perhaps. I'm not sure. But I had a couple of groups fail pretty terribly. And so I would have to do, I think, like 4. I think I'm only at 4. So I'd have to do like 4 dungeons today as of recording this. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that or not. But I might do a vault anyways, even if I only have 2 slots. We'll see. We'll see if I do that or not, but yeah. Other than that, I had a video about Crusading Strikes versus Templar Strikes. Hopefully, I can have more videos like that where I kind of expound on some intricacies of Retribution Paladin and things like that. Sometimes it's just having the idea come to you. Sometimes it's having time. Sometimes it's having the idea come to you, having time, and then doing it in a timely manner before like a million other videos are done about it or whatever. But yeah, hopefully have more of that kind of content coming out as well, because obviously that stuff interests me quite a bit. Other than that, is there any other news? I mean, there's tons of news about 10.1.5, all kinds of dragon riding stuff happening with the Eastern Kingdoms and the Kalmador race, and all kinds of cool stuff coming out in these future patches. So they're definitely working really hard in the future patches. I think we've seen a little bit of lack of tuning on this current patch here, but I'm not going to complain too much about that as far as, as long as they can keep putting out these really, really cool patches. I'm pretty much okay with it, I guess. But I'm mostly saying that because I'd like to see my own class get maybe a little bit of a buff, especially if this Onyx Amulet gets nerfed or something like that. So I'm a little bit anxious about that. But yeah, everything's still going pretty good. I need to get more into the patch 10.1.5 stuff because I think there's some really interesting things there, including the Mega Dungeon. But yeah, I'm really enjoying everything still. like I said, I keep mentioning this every week. So I'm waiting for a time to be like, okay, we're in a little bit of a lull now. We're in a little bit of a slow time. Maybe the game's not as good, but still killing it with Dragonflight WoW Dev. So good job. As always, I ask you to please subscribe to the channel because that helps me out a lot. And other than that, everybody have a good one.